Do it.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wait, what's this called? Big announcement coming soon? Yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Big Announcement Coming Soon podcast. I'm Michael Bull, hanging out here today with Nick and Jeff. And we lost David this week, and I think it's because he made a prediction of Bitcoin going to like 28,000 or something like that.
26.
And it's not anywhere close. Oh, you're kind to say 26, but yeah. So I think that's why he begged off tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You can't call them all, right?
Yeah, it's back to just correlating with the S&P 500. It went up a little bit, so Bitcoin went up, its percentage.
yeah, and I think a lot of alts just pumped for some exit liquidity, and we're going to talk about some of that stuff later. Yeah, David's off. He's also got some big changes with Sakai. We've got some interesting stuff happening that we'll talk about over the next couple of weeks.
It's not bankruptcy. It's not on that list, is it? Of interesting things happening? Okay. That's good to
Nice.
hear. Good to hear. So you're still talking about the good stuff. All right. So today we're going to have Nick talk all about himself. Ha, ha, ha. Sharing RedLion. And then Jeff, at the end, you are going to excite those newbies, which I probably should continue to put myself in that category, about how not to be scammed. So we certainly love that. And then I'm going to talk about nuclear stuff or something like that. But we'll start off with Nick. Now, Nick, you are on the edge of becoming extremely famous beyond the regular famous you have right now.
Within this group, yes, actually.
Well, it all depends on how you want to frame it.
Which means I'll get the most talk time out of the next episode. Eventually. Yeah. No. It's just a nice little collaboration that I had the opportunity to do with RedLion. And
Yeah. So tell us about RedLion and tell us about that collaboration.
yeah, so they're a weekly NFT magazine. They're the first ones, actually. This is issue 123. What they do is they also offer an art drop. So you mint the magazine as a collectible cover. You can check out their secondary. They have loads of different collectible covers dating back proving that they were the first in the space, like months and year of doing this. But ultimately what you do is you get 2 mints or 1 mint and 2 NFTs for the price of one. You get the cover, and each week you get a different artist art drop.
Okay.
I happen to be this week's art drop. And I'm very excited. And it just kicked off on Monday, and it'll run for a week.
So tell us what that means. Like, so you're this week's. What does that mean? I mean, I see they focused on you, called you multi-talented, and an educator and an artist all at the same time. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was really nice write-up. But that's exactly what they're doing. They're highlighting a different artist each week, and ultimately they write a piece about them, introducing them to the RedLion community. It works both ways, right? And then the RedLion community kind of, like my network gets introduced to the RedLion community as well. And so this cross-pollination effect really helps. Not to mention you get to rub elbows with some really cool artists. Viva La Vandal was last week's artist. He's done fake rares. He's worked with LL Cool J in the past, and it's just like a really cool opportunity to be amongst some really cool people in this space. People who are trying to educate people and grow this space, move it forward, and they're doing it not to really make money, but to just kind of, again, like we talk about with 6529 in the memes. You create network effects and create adoption through giving away things and onboarding new people. So the RedLion Gazette does that through their weekly magazine.
Okay. And so what are you glad, like, to be featured by RedLion? Like, what part of your voice do you think they got that they wrote up that you were like, yes, I wanted people to know this about me?
Well, so it's neat. You have, like, it was all about being like selected to do some art for them first. They actually appreciated the work that Jeff and I had done in the past when Jeff and I had made the Pepe mug that had the GM smoke. That got noticed by a friend of mine and who's in the Pepe community. We got to chatting, talking about our love for fake rares, small communities. Turns out we both had similar, friends and communities, and he was curating something for Pepe fans. And, we've talked about Rare Pepes on here in the past, right? Like, it's a deep-rooted community, right? Lots of people continue to try to push the space forward. So they kind of tapped me to see if I could do a Pepe-themed one. That was the only parameter. And so, yeah, like, again, Jeff and I just played around with loads of different ideas. The shoes are actually just kind of more symbolic about the journey. And I talk in the article a little bit about like how like we've all been through hell. Like I've been wrecked, margin called, scammed, and Jeff will talk about how to prevent some of those things later in today, which is great. But like,
so basically, if you'd only had Jeff at the early part of your journey,
yeah, easy.
I was there, but
That is true. He was the first person I told. I'm like, hey, Jeff, I just got scammed. Hey, Jeff, I just got margin called. No, but I think it's just about persevering. And I hope that like what comes through is just like the resilience of sticking around because within this time, we've also started a podcast. We do, right. We do make things on the side. So we really are building in the bear and we really are trying to like not go away and just sulk about the bear market.
Now, I see that your shoes are green. Is that an optimistic color for the future of earnings? Of course, it depends on which country you're from, but
yeah, we'll flash the static image up that comes with it. It kind of shows more detail of the shoes. It's a Pepe green with a little Pepe on the side. There's some X copy references, art blocks references. But what's neat is that they also get like a third piece. This is kind of rare. This is beyond what RedLion's giving. I'm also dropping another piece for everyone who mints. So you actually walk away with 3 NFTs if you mint the RedLion issue.
Okay. Now tell us a little bit about, you also have your podcast. Well, you're on one right now, but your personal podcast and your blog. And what's the genesis of that? Like, you're talking enough once a week with us. Like, why continue?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
he's got a lot to say.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
I don't get enough talk time, guys.
What do you got to say?
No. I enjoy doing the daily stuff. Actually, it's because one day I was just driving and I was just thinking like, I wish, with all the good crypto related YouTubers out there who just give you the news quickly, or how I get my sports now, like I don't have anything like that for NFTs and I can't check the floor price while I'm in traffic. Like that's an accident waiting to happen. So I wanted something and I just, well, F it, I'll do it myself. And I'll recap it and maybe others will see the value in short audio content like daily. And I just also wanted to push myself to do something daily because it's a challenge. You got to really get organized and plan ahead.
It's a huge challenge. And it's contemporary. It's like contemporary for the moment, or it's timely for the moment. So you can't like bank 2 weeks worth of.
Right.
Oh,
yeah. It's got to be done on the day.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I've missed a couple days already, but like we're at episode 8 or 7.
Over the last 9 days.
Yeah.
Oh, well, hey, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
It's just fun. It's fun. I think the more I do it, the more you just want to do it. And it's just, again, like network effects. The same thing works for like open doors and opportunities. I just want to keep putting myself out there.
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations. So where can people find that if they're interested?
Yeah. So
I know Jeff's going to put links in the notes, but just
no, for sure. RedLion News is the main homepage that you can go to.
RedLion.news, right?
Yeah, sorry, RedLion.news. In addition, though, if you wanted to just go straight to RedLion Gazette, which is the mint page for the article and the art drop, just go to www.gazette.red.
Okay.
It'll take you right there.
I didn't know they had the .red domain now. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really neat. You check out that issue along with all the other past ones. So just thanks again for RedLion and the opportunity. Really appreciate it. And Jeff as well. Thanks for you know more about this than most people. So feel free to jump in, shed light on it because it's a massive collective effort. And I think it just shows the power of Web3. As I mentioned in the article, right? I mean, all these things kind of came just from friendships and conversations, and we've all blossomed.
I think the interesting point you put in there is you talk about your PLN, which is something we all know as educators, your professional learning network.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Bringing that into the Web3. And something we'll talk about with scams is there's a lot of networks where people are there to use you and kind of figuring out who your network is of people to support you and people you can trust. And like Nick said, we do the art together. We talk about it, we create and send it back and forth. And that's not something you can do with other people. We have a level of trust and connection that works to do something creative together, but also when we do sell stuff to have money coming in. And I think when money comes in, it can always muddy things, but knowing who you're collaborating with and having a strong friendship and network around that and clearly defining what it is, has worked great for us. And for other people, I think it can be interesting because you can come into crypto alone where no one else in your life knows about crypto, knowing that you know in your community, and it's all anons online, and hopefully you meet good people.
To me,
good to have a support group.
Absolutely. And I think it's about transferable skill sets, right? Like as educators, we
Hmm.
have this transferable skill set to teach, to help others, to form communities, to understand the power of a network or a community. But, at the same time, like um, Jeff, we've talked about this. You play in a band, so you know how a jam session goes and how to give like proper feedback or take feedback or how to just kind of go with the creative process.
Hmm.
And you could be great at trading NFTs, or you could be amazing at doing your own art, or have great marketing skills. You know what I mean? All those things could be happening in silos, but I think if you go at it alone, and you don't have an understanding of collaboration and network effects, then it's gonna be tough. You know what I mean? You
Hmm.
can go, to a degree, but you'll go
And
further together.
we're old. It helps. Sometimes I'm surprised when I'm talking to people and I realize what their age is. They've had one job and haven't moved out of their hometown or something. We've been through a lot, and when we're, yeah, like you said, when we're giving feedback or collaborating, choosing what's important to fight for, what's not important, all of
Hmm.
that works smoothly because it's not our first go around for anything.
Mm, absolutely. Yeah, and that's cool. So again, like that's why I'm doing the content and putting stuff out there. It's just
I mean,
for
you
that
two
feedback.
you're old enough that you're out of the basement of your parents' house.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Unlike,
5 minutes
unlike
away
Well,
though if I
free
need to get
time.
back.
yeah, like most crypto traders.
Yeah.
So, all right. So moving on, I got the clickbait article of U.S. first nuclear-powered Bitcoin mine operating in 2023, and perhaps the most interesting thing there is a reminder that Ethereum takes up so much less energy because it uses its proof of stake instead of proof of work concept, and that we have at least one Bitcoin mining organization plugging into a nuclear network, which they say is, emission free. Of course, that doesn't count if it blows up and spreads nuclear waste all over the place. But personally, I actually think nuclear is a better way to go
Yeah, I
than
mean, nuclear waste
a
is
lot of
not
things
really an
need to be doing right
issue.
now,
It's compared to
especially
how
today.
we blow it up and talk about it, it's not actually
Uh,
that much of an issue.
so how big an issue is the whole Bitcoin mining energy drain? Is that, again, just more clickbait that people put out there?
Both.
Relatively speaking, I don't know. I mean, it is. I mean, it does suck down
It
energy,
takes
isn't it?
energy, and
And if it's being done by coal,
I
for
think there's
example.
a conversation of it should take energy. If money doesn't take anything to produce, you just print as much money as you want out of thin air. It doesn't mean anything. And that's why I think it's important that Bitcoin takes energy to produce because everything in the world takes energy. All work is energy. And if it has value, it's giving itself value rather than out of thin air.
I
Which
don't
is
know if
why I
that makes
think,
sense. That somehow you're making a claim that it's good to hurt the environment because that's just what money should do. Otherwise, it's
no,
not
no,
what
no,
it should.
not hurt the environment, but there should be a cost to making new money.
Okay,
Otherwise,
I
you can
see.
just make free money where
Where that where
everything in the
that's proof of
world
stake or proof of
costs
work.
energy except for fiat money. So you
Uh huh.
trade created fiat for energy, human energy, right? Power energy, like electrical. So it's the one place where there is no energy is in creating fiat. So at least in Bitcoin, it gives it value. So you don't just create more. Ethereum
Yeah.
proof of stake, I think, is just a separate issue because Ethereum is not money; it's tech.
Uh huh. So I don't know. I struggle with that concept of money. That should be the barrier that we have in
Right,
order
because
to
we have
make
different
it
ideas
appear more
about how money
legitimate.
should work.
That's probably true too.
And I
So.
think that's a fundamental idea of before you discussing that energy system, then energy of banks and all this other stuff, energy of wars that go into enforcing that oil's traded in dollars. Like,
Mhm.
does that count towards the energy consumption of the
Yeah,
dollar?
yeah, okay, that's a legitimate point there. Yeah. I'm not sure that would
Mhm.
switch if you switch to Bitcoin, but I don't
Right,
know.
but right
Yeah.
now it's free war. You just print more dollars and go to war as much as you want.
Right. Yeah. They look like the Iraq War where they just financed it. They didn't
And
actually
ag-
raise taxes to pay for it,
and
Right.
again,
like
if you're
It
doing
we've
didn't
done in the
things,
past.
cost the U.S. government anything to go to war.
Right. Like it did in the past.
Yeah.
So it changes the incentives. What were we going to say,
Um,
Nick?
well, just so again, like to go back to the point that everything's on chain, right? So also more transparency. You'd have to disclose the amount of money that these things cost, and obviously
Uh-huh.
that
mhm.
over time would hopefully be a deterrent because people would see how much they're really putting into these things. You can't hide it like you could with fiat money and
Yeah,
stealth wars and
Like Mike said,
cobalt.
they didn't in the past right after World War II they raised taxes to try to pay off the
Yeah, and you
debt,
had
and
bonds and
we
all
had the
these sorts
gold
of things.
standard and things like that. Net for the Iraq War, we didn't feel it. We didn't feel the Afghanistan war. It didn't change my taxes. It didn't
No.
change anything at home for us. But the U.S.
Mhm.
government was spending billions. somehow, and it didn't affect anything at home from my perspective.
Yeah, so there's no sacrifice. So the barrier to entry, so to speak, for those kinds of things is none.
And then the other thing about
other than
Bitcoin
the death
mining
of people
is if they're going to the nuclear plant, what they'll do is the nuclear plant is producing, I'm just going to make up numbers, say 100 megawatts of energy. If the community around it is only consuming 50 megawatts, on a nice day, there's no ACs running, there's no heat running. What do you do with the other 50 megawatts? It's still running. You could use it to secure the Bitcoin network, or you could just let it burn it off.
Or you ship it off to the next town, but
right. But by the time you get further and further away, you can't. And the cost.
Okay,
so
sure.
This is right. There's other power plants. This is the most Bitcoin mining. When they go to these power plants, what they're doing is buying the excess. So whatever's not being sold to the grid, they're paying a lower rate for. So they're getting a deal on it, but they're making sure 100% is consumed because you can turn the miner off. Whereas you can't necessarily turn off other industries or other people who'd be consuming
I see. You can't shut off my lights.
They can't shut off your lights, and shutting off the factory might take a day of powering down, 2 days of powering up. So you can split Bitcoin mining on and off if you agree that you should be securing the network and buy that extra power. Whereas, the community needs the power. It's a hot day. Everyone's running their AC. You can turn off your Bitcoin miners because they have an agreement, usually with the power plant, to pay less per kilowatt. So they're the first to be turned off. So they kind of eat the excess rather than eating. They don't create excess demand.
Well, I would hope that the power grid has
everywhere.
some dynamicism to it, where that it doesn't only produce X amount per day, 100 watts per day.
Right.
Well, a lot of better solar panels produce. If the sun's
that's
shining,
true.
So what
solar
do you do
panels true. That's
you
static
might as well
amount.
mine Bitcoin because it's the only thing you can flip on and off super quick. So that's where I think that's a great story.
Interesting. Okay, let's move on, Jeff. You're going to save the newbie world, I think, right? For example, you talk that, and I'm not sure what you mean here, but Celsius is making a token to lift themselves out of bankruptcy.
Yeah,
which is interesting. Okay, you want to start with that tweet and go forward?
I'll get to that tweet in a second. There's actually one I want to start with, and this came up the other day. And this is, I just broke my TV in front of 40 guests at my birthday party because of, and this one's Texture Punk. It used to be, I think it was the Bored Ape or Mutant Ape one.
Yeah, I remember this one.
And then my wife took our kids crying, said they would spend the week in a hotel. This NFT has ruined my life and my party. It can't take any more of this. Goodbye, not a fan. So the reply is, we should delay the launch. You need time to mentally recover. I assume the reply is from somebody who's totally new because they've tagged for Inverse Bra, but this is just a joke people keep reposting. What's scary to me is this guy doesn't know it's a joke. And he, if this is a rug pull, he's sitting here hoping he has some, time to mentally recover. And the rest of us joke about that because Nick and I have seen 500 projects where they launch and about 10 minutes in, one time the founder died during launch, then came back.
Yeah.
But
that's a stressful launch. That's a stressful launch.
The day after, and 100 ETH leaves, they're like, I need a mental health break because everyone's yelling at me for stealing their money. And as the charts start to tick up, as people are starting to say bull, right, new people are coming along. And even if you've been here for 6 months or a year, there's a lot of great scams. And it's a whole bunch of new people. They're going to get hit with the same ones. And it's just painful to see the same scams run again and again. And new people get hit every time.
Yeah, and they're not even all crypto related, right? Like last week's RedLion magazine talked about the Crypto Novo hack, right? Which is when OGs are getting hit for other hacks. But I think also, Jeff,
do stuff on two different computers, right? The computer I'm working on for this, where for work, if people send me PDFs or anything, okay, my ledger is on a different computer, right? My crypto is somewhere else, and that's one thing to separate. If you've got more than a couple $100, buy a ledger. If you have a couple thousand, buy a cheap side computer that you only do crypto on, not Discord on your crypto computer.
And Ledger Stack is coming out in a few months. I mean, there's a wait list for it, and that's going to be made just for NFTs. But going back to your point, I don't think it's only noobs. I think what happens is when liquidity comes back in, scammers come and they follow, right? And that's what's happening. And when the bull market comes back in, everything that we said we were going to do, we get that rush of blood to the head, and we all kind of don't do it, right? Like we're like, oh, well, I'm gonna sell here, I'm gonna take profit, I'm gonna do this. Like when we never really talk about adjusting from a bear to a bull, because it goes from being very boring to all of a sudden, oh shit, what do I do? Do I buy in? Am I
how
on
much
the
money can I
sideline?
make?
Am I
Yeah.
FOMOing? And that's where scammers come in too, because you just start doing like you I don't know. It feels like to me in the last week or so, and maybe this is just the NFT space, but we had a lot of noise in a very concentrated amount of time. And then now we're kind of cooling off, even though we didn't hit 26 or 23 or whatever, right? Or is that,
Yeah.
am I
Well, I
wrong?
say
Like,
you gotta go to the other Slack channels. We've been talking about this the whole time. Is right. David's pretty zen about planning ahead with a 4-year cycle, and
mhm.
he and some of the other folks that we all talk to. But we have
Like
a support
whatever
group.
Bob says for him. Yeah.
Yeah, but we have a support group of talking about these things because, like Nick said, it is emotional. It's going to get more emotional, and if you don't have your own group to talk to, it's so hard to go alone. And your group might not be Anons online because you might be in the wrong spot. I'd
Yeah.
say 50% of the people here are just out here to scam, to be vultures, use people.
You think it's that high?
I mean, looking at Twitter,
Even 10% would be high.
I mean, okay, maybe it's more like 10%, and they just have
I don't know.
loud voices.
I'm just throwing a random
I
number
mean,
out there. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know how to gauge that actually. I
I
mean,
don't
people
know
come and
either.
go, right?
Yeah.
And one guy scammed people 8 times. So you don't really know if the data is really representative or
Okay,
just,
there's plenty of scammers, but it's,
yeah.
I mean, and it's all sorts of
Well,
stuff.
there's Luna, there's BlockFi. You can count them as scammers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's even people shilling bags, right? Telling you something's going to go up, and as it does, selling it. Because if we've been here a while, right, you got bags at different price points. So when people show up in a year and everything's up 50%, a 50% rise from there is somebody else's exit point, and for you, you're still holding. So kind of understanding that cycle of why are people shilling, why are they giving advice online?
Now, are you talking mostly? This impacts more NFTs and a lot of the altcoins.
Yeah,
I
I
guess the
think the
question might
Bitcoin
be why
market's
would
a
anybody
little
get
harder
into them?
to move if you're not nomad.
It seems like if you get into any sort of altcoin, it's basically just a gamble, and so just be aware
Yeah,
that
and if
you're
you haven't
basically
read
gambling.
Wulong,
You can listen to all the stuff you want to listen to and talk about all you want to talk about, but it's just going to be a pure gamble because you don't have enough information to really make a rational decision. It's purely gambling.
yes,
Would that be right to say that?
Absolutely.
yeah, it's informed gambling. I mean, but it is. Signal trading.
I mean, isn't it similar to like being at the craps table and the guy says these dice are really good, and this next dice I've seen all these statistics going to throw in a different way than the other dice did.
Yes and no. I mean, you can buy the guy who tells you that, or find the guy who's got the loaded dice.
Right.
And the loaded dice better tech. I don't know.
But then
the loaded dice
just
tech or...
makes you a scammer, doesn't
Well,
it?
then it's like going to the
I'm
dice table and
trying to
having
find
8 pairs of dice.
I guess I don't like the analogy
people say they're
because
loaded.
there are good projects. There are projects that they're launched to be rug pulls.
But it's all crapshoot.
That has the same. Well, I'm thinking like scams like Mike launches a real project and Nick launches a fake one with the exact same name 5 minutes before, because if you're on Uniswap, you can do things like that, and then launches a Twitter where he's bought someone else's Twitter that has 20,000 followers, makes it look like Mike's, and is tweeting out the link. So people then go and buy the wrong coin. It's those kind of blatant ones where people forget that this is how it works. They go, oh, well, he had 20,000 followers. Why would he do that? Well, it's a fake account, and then he stashed the cash in Tornado Cash, and it's gone. So it's those kind of
cash. Let me write that down.
I was gonna say, like, the signal groups and trading groups. Most people selling those, like, right? They could have just traded themselves. There's a reason why they're selling it to you, so they can get the cash on you joining their group. There are a few good ones, but most of them are just there to collect money.
I think what you're saying though, like as you mentioned Slack and how we talked about earlier in the PLN, the power of a network, like everybody wants the same thing. It's just you got to be careful because there will be people out there that are prey on you, and you have to be critical about like the groups that you have to think critically about like what you're diving into, the groups you join, the things you say, the info that you share, and there's a level of like trust there that you have to kind of go through. You just have to first you have to hope that everything's, I mean, you find the right community, and then you kind of can tell over time if you do the work, but like there's a level of like trust where you're putting your faith into people online. Or
like, for me, I guess this goes back to is why would anybody expose more than like 5% of their net worth to this anyways?
I'm way over that.
I know why
no
put in
more
all
than
that
5%
risk
per shitcoin.
I mean, but why put more than 5% of your net worth into something that's so risky? It has all these things going on, and you just think that you know better than the next person.
It's better than working until I'm 65 and still being poor then.
Are we talking about altcoins still, or are we
no? Just talking about. I guess we're talking about crypto in general.
Yeah, I mean, I guess yes. I don't think Bitcoin's the gamble that Mike does. Whereas my 5% is don't get too deep into the coin someone promises you that's going to 100x, or you lock up for a year at 60%, return. All of these kind of things that are great. When it goes down 200%, and that the math does work out, you can go down 99% twice. Then that 30% emission per year doesn't matter. So it's doing that.
We've had this,
but 5%.
We've had discussions back and forth on how much to allocate, and I'm always like, well, just put in about 5%. Of course, I'm older, so it's different. And so, and hopefully I'm, because it's a high risk, and who knows what's going to happen. But in the end, I hope I'm wrong, and that you guys are right, because that's all upside for me.
We'll take you out to dinner.
Yeah.
On that note, though, I think we all should listen to like the podcast that came out this week with Punk 6529 and Rob Paul, because it's a really neat, like, comprehensive look at like
tell us about that.
What this space might look like in 10 years time. And I'm still relatively young, and I'm very optimistic about, like, not just like, okay, what the price is going to be. Sure, that's one thing. But like, what is this whole space going to be? Like, we're talking about magazines that give you art now, but what's 10 years time going to look like? And what are these pieces that are around now in the genesis period of this art movement, this crypto technology, Web3, blockchain movement? I mean, that's what I'm like. I'm here for the culture and the historical aspect and the opportunities that come with it. I don't really, I hear you on the paid groups and stuff, and a lot of the scammers and stuff like that. There's a lot there, but I still think like we need to highlight the flip side of, like, when you find your tribe and you find your network, stick with it.
I'm just saying until you do, and be careful. I'm going to put the link for Wolong from the old Doge pump and dump, but you don't want to end up in a group like that. So no, I think, of course, Nick is correct. There's a lot of good in the space. There's a reason that we're here doing that. There's also a reason why we're not pumping coins and talking about that. One, no one's asked us to or offered us any money. No one watches. We don't have enough viewers. But when you get to a channel with enough viewers,
don't tell the 6 viewers watching that.
That's recommending coins, right? Did they get paid for it? It's a pump and dump. It's easy, right? David and I have friends in our Slack who will trade in $1 million chunks, and they'll move the order books, and they have to be careful how they trade. People can move markets around, and they might be telling you something different. So just tread lightly when you come in and find a good group of people, but be careful with that first or second or third group you find.
Absolutely. And Kobe's a good neighborhood watch person to follow, right? Like he uncovered all kind of, they uncovered all kinds of scammers and stuff. So do start there if you're new, and because those people can help you.
Kobe, Ledger Status,
Or if you're new, start small, stay small, and use mainstream investing.
Buy Bitcoin and chill.
True.
You're just looking for an excuse to have some fun. All right, I can wrap that up for the week with that one.
Yeah,
we can always buy Bitcoin and chill.
For Bitcoin prices, though.
Gosh, everything seems. We had our little run up. I'm basing it on the S&P, and everything's like a little flat right now. I'd say about the same.
The same. What is it right now?
Was it 22 or 23? I'll look at my watch here.
I think we're back to 21.
Oh, you think it's going back down?
Yeah,
we're 22.5
hovers
now.
above 20 and people get happy.
Okay.
I'm wondering if alts bleed out slowly, and then we have a little, like, this is like a little bear, like a little trap maybe, and then
then it's a cycle that we've
slow
seen
movement up,
again and again and again, and people like Bob Lucas call it, and it follows. Bitcoin will hover, alts will bleed, Bitcoin will go up. I don't know when, but that's the patterns.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here's the patterns. Everybody have a good week.
See you guys next week.
Bye.
Wait, what's this called? Big announcement coming soon? Yeah. 5, 4, 3.